Yeah, we're on like about the last day of September 2023. And I've got plants that are just starting. They're just starting to produce heavy. So if we can keep the weather, if we could do something to keep the weather from getting too crazy, hey, look at this. Can you see these? Matter of fact, watch this. That right there, that's a lilac pepper. I call them purple, lilac, whatever you want to call it. They were called lilac pepper seeds, but those are definitely purple. We got a couple of them. And our Everglade tomatoes, yeah, they taking off like crazy. And they're so delicate, you'll never buy them in the store. They don't tend to sell things in the store that won't last. And it's hard enough just to pick these and get them in the house without them splitting open. They're such a delicate skin, delicious, tiny tomatoes. But they're packed full of juice, and at the slightest bump, they split open. So you're never gonna get them in the store. You're gonna have to grow them, and you're gonna have to pick them carefully. And I'm gonna take my time going around the garden, because don't forget, a couple of weeks ago, I hurt my knee, and then I nursed it, and then I misstepped, and it felt like my knee went backwards. Let me tell you something, that's some humbling stuff when you can't walk right. When you can't walk right, that'll scare you into changing how you do things. So, yeah, that affected me. I'm being real careful with my knee right now. One pot, one plant, one patio, but let me tell you still got to be careful. They're amazing. Amazing, these Everglade tomatoes. Thank you, Hollis and Nancy, for turning us on to these. Well, our first eggplant's about 1.5 size of a golf ball. But it's the first eggplant I've ever grown in my entire life. So even if I pulled it right now, it would still be an eggplant to me. And there's a whole lot of flowers. These eggplants, now they're thriving now. Boy, it takes a long time for eggplants to grow. Might have to start them a little earlier next year. We started these seeds Super Bowl Sunday, but we didn't get them into a bed right away. Maybe that would have helped. But we got a whole bunch of flowers. We have our first eggplant. Gonna have to pick some of the sage from Miss Karen and put in the freeze dryer. And we planted a whole lot of dill, but only one of them made it. Might plant dill a little different next year, because it seems to be a tender plant. You have to be careful. Basil, purple and green basil, it's thriving. Right alongside our cilantro. And then we have these beautiful canna plants. We pulled the seeds. I showed you how you cut a little notch to get to the white part, and then you could probably sprout them in 5 days or less. So these little canna plants, they doing good. Purple and green basil, fantastic. Cilantro's doing well. Got a pocket full of Everglade tomatoes. I got a bunch of lilac peppers in my pocket. And we're just on one side of the yard. September, the last day. Last day of September. And my pink boar plants, they starting to become ready to pick. I got a bunch in my pocket. I'm trying to get in there. I see them in there. Let's see if I can reach them. Pink boar. What a wonderful, wonderful flavor. What a beautiful looking tomato. They're not too big, they're not too small. Slice them up, put them on a sandwich, put them in a salad, or eat them like an apple. pink ball. The blue beauties, they're beautiful. There's so many of them. I don't even really know exactly when to pick them. I'm gonna have to pick one and see what it's like, because I've never grown blue beauties before. And take a look at this color. They're growing like crazy in the end of September. We're gonna have tomatoes straight through October. No doubt in my mind. I'm gonna go see my parents for 10 days. So for 10 days, they're gonna be on their own. I'll make sure I pick everything before we leave. But I'll tell you what, the blue beauties, I've never grown them. They're beautiful looking. I just gotta figure out, I'm gonna have to go on the internet and find out when you pick them. When are they ready to be picked? What are they supposed to look like? Can't wait to see what they taste like. Now we're over here by the purple Cherokee, and I'll tell you what, this bed, this is gonna be the second crop we planted of purple Cherokee, and they are taking off. And they're full of flowers, and they're very green, and they're lush. But check this out. Purple Cherokee, the last day of September. See that? You know what? Woo! I'll put that on the counter for 2 days. I already got plenty of tomatoes to eat right now. Purple Cherokee, last day of September, 2020. It is the last day of September. I keep saying it, the last day of September, 2023. I'm over here by the Fountain Inn Sweet Grape, my tomato. Fountain Inn Sweet Grape shows no signs of slowing down. No signs of stopping. Producing. Never stop producing. I mean, I'm just legitimately filling my pockets with Fountain Inn Sweet Grape. I walked over here without the basket. Knucklehead move. Yeah. Fountain Inn Sweet Grape. Never stops impressing me, amazing me, blowing me away. These plants, I mean, my goodness, look at these sets. You see this? They are not playing around. They just putting them out, and putting them out. Tomato pandemonium here on the Fountain Inn Sweet Grape, last day of September. No signs of slowing down. One pot, one plant. They growing like crazy. I'm gonna start a new phrase for my videos. I would much rather grow a plant and get no harvest. Take a chance and plant it and get no harvest because there's not enough time left in the season. I would rather do that than never plant it and definitely get no harvest. Now, you know, I've been teaching about the cloning the plants. Cut the top of the tomato plant off, cut the branches off, leave a little growth on top, put it in a jar of water. Now these right here, these got a little bit of a late start. They're starting to grow now. Their roots are kicking in. They're starting to grow. We may or may not get tomatoes on these plants. However, behind me, we got the clones we took from the Roma plants, right? Take a look at these clones right here. Plant right here, this Roma plant is going to give me some tomatoes. I would almost guarantee you we're going to get tomatoes from these Roma clones. Not sure about these. They might be a little bit small. But now if I walk over to the other side over here and I show you the first batch of clones that we planted. Let's go take a look. You ready? Watch it don't trip. Marigolds. Now. Take a look at these plants. They're 2 feet tall, headed for 3 feet. They're growing. They are not showing any signs of stress. And they just starting to grow, and that's the end of September. So by the end of October, I'm hoping we're going to have a bunch of tomatoes. Even if we got to pick them green, even if they're green, and we got to bring them in the house in November. But look at this. And if you remember, we had tomatoes growing here, but I didn't like the tomatoes. I didn't ask for them. Those seeds were wrong. They sent me some wrong seeds. We tried something new. We'll never go back to that company. But these clone plants, they doing beautiful. So I would much rather grow a plant and take a chance on no harvest than not grow it and guarantee no harvest. I'll work on that little phrase, but you're going to start to hear that a lot every season at the end. Because we're doing beautiful with these clones. And I know we got some tomatoes back there. My Kellogg's breakfast backed over there. We took some of the branches off the plant and bent them down and piled dirt on them, and now they shooting up a whole new plant. But it's going to have new roots plus the original roots. We might get some beautiful tomatoes. And right behind me, hey, got a couple of small ones. Got a couple of small Kellogg's breakfast over here. Might as well pick them. They're here. Might as well get them. But Kellogg's breakfast. I'm going to go put it in my colorful basket from today. And then there's a big Kellogg's breakfast. I see it. Well, medium big. I'm going to go pick that one now. Check this out. Let me see if we can do this here. Through the magic of holding the camera. Can you see this? Ah, at last. I'm sitting on a bench. I think this might be one of the last parts of my video I'm shooting from today. The end of September, headed into October. The weather is beautiful. It's phenomenal. The train, he's blowing the heck out of that horn to go across one road. Every night he does that, 2, 3 in the morning. No regard, just blowing the heck out of the horn. But I'll tell you what. I have never grown artichokes before last year, and they didn't make it through the winter. So we have some new artichokes this year. But all of a sudden, in the last week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 of these artichoke plants are taking off right now. There's a possibility, I'm not sure, they might shoot out a stalk with some baby artichokes. I have no idea. I don't really know when they're supposed to flower. I don't know what to expect. I do, however, believe that they will make it through the winter this year. They're established. I grew them in those tubes. Those tubes are insulated. I'm going to put leaves on top of them before the cold weather. I'm not going to wait till we get below 0 like last time. And I'll tell you right now, take a look at these artichokes. Couple more weeks, I might be able to videotape them sticking above the fence. Our Coast of Maine challenge, I've already picked the tomatoes off of them the first time. That Coast of Maine plant has got tomatoes on it. They're growing. It's got flowers on it. It's got tomato plants growing off the side of the tomato plant. I mean, we did it in 5-gallon buckets. Got 4 gallons of compost in there, you know, the Coast of Maine dirt. So, I mean, you know, for a 5-gallon bucket, it is what it is. If I ever use that in a big, giant flower bed, there's no telling what kind of results we could do on that kind of a Coast of Maine challenge. Right here next to me, I got 2 mulberry trees. It's another thing. I would much rather grow a tree or a bush in a big pot and lose a little bit of a growing part of it, you know, because they grow better in the ground. But I would rather do that and wait till I know exactly where I want to plant it than plant it in a wrong spot and have to dig it up. Because I had to dig up some blueberry bushes. And that kind of hurt me a little bit because I know now it's going to take another year or 2 for them to catch back up. You always lose roots. So these right here, we had a mulberry tree growing up in my yard. That thing was rogue. It just showed up out of nowhere. But we would pick and eat and pick mulberries. I think they were better than blackberries. Because we had some blackberries growing back here, but they got those little rock seeds inside. So you can't really just eat them. You kind of got to make something and run them through a screen. But look at these mulberry trees. I bought one online. They're so nice. They sent us two. They sent us a free one. It was little, but it's catching up to the big one. So these two mulberry trees have to go in the ground. This weekend, I have one more peach tree to plant. We have 3 pear trees. They're in pots still because I got to really make sure we put it in a spot where we're going to be able to harvest the pears and it's not going to grow too big. I'm going to try to prune them so I could always reach them. I mean, the older you get, you don't really want to be climbing a ladder to pick fruit. And you don't want the fruit to fall on the ground. Now today we have a beautiful, colorful basket of peppers and tomatoes. We have our purple Cherokee, our Kellogg's breakfast. We have pink boar. We've got some Romas. I got my Fountain Inn sweet grape. We have a beautiful assortment of tomatoes from today. I've got a pocket right here filled with Everglades tomatoes. These little tomatoes, if I bought tomato candy, this is what I would imagine tomato candy would taste like. This would be like a little tomato flavored star, what do they call those? Starburst? Those little rock hard candies, but they got little fruity flavors. Yeah, if they made candy out of tomato, these little Everglades, I would say that's what they are. They're like a little candy tomato. And like I said, you're going to have to grow them. Order some seeds. Let me know in the comments. I'll put some seeds. I'll send you some seeds. What the heck? I don't need to make money on it. You take these little Everglade tomatoes and you grow them and you'll have them. You're never going to buy them in a store. I don't know a company out there that would waste their time with a tomato that's so fragile and so delicate. So I'm going to put this together later and I'm going to post it. I left the corn because, when we decorate for the fall, we have to go buy those corn stalks to make the little decorations with the pumpkins. So I left these in the ground. Hopefully we don't have to go buy them this year. We'll use our own. There's enough to make a nice little bunch out in front. We'll pick up a couple of pumpkins at the farm stand. We got a tomato assortment today that's fabulous. The marigolds and the zinnias. We got zinnias that are 7 feet tall and flowering like crazy. Got sunflowers. They didn't make it in the beginning of the year. We planted some new ones recently, and they're flowering. Ain't but 1.5 feet tall. It's growing all kinds of crazy. But I'll tell you what, next year I'm going to make sure we plant so many sunflowers that some of them make it. Check this out. That was the very first sweet potato bed that we planted this year. If you go back in the videos from the beginning of the season, that was the first sweet potatoes we planted. And then systematically over the next month and a half, we planted more. I got one last bed over here. It's only got a couple of months on it, but I'm sure there'll be something in the ground when we dig it up. I'll let them go as far as I can. And, last night, what time I got in? I got in at 2:30 in the morning. The man from the city told us, the leaves that they piled up, everybody puts their leaves out in front of the house. So they gathered up all the leaves and they made a big pile, but they're taking the pile away. And he told me I better get as many as I want because the pile's going to disappear. Well, sure enough, it's disappearing. So Anthony, he works till 10 o'clock, and he said he would gladly work for me a couple hours a night getting some leaves. So we were lucky enough to get a big giant pipe. They crushed the end of the pipe. They're building a new QT in our Fountain Inn here. And so they gave us a $1,200 pipe that the last 1.5 feet was bent. So we cut 5 more 3.5 foot beds. And we set them up on the weekend. And we spent last night hours. We were at that pile using flashlights and headlights. And Anthony was filling the buckets. And we were filling those beds. So last night we filled 5 more beds. I fully anticipate moving all our strawberries before the spring. When the spring hits, our strawberries are not going to be sitting ducks for these squirrels. Now, I don't want to kill any squirrels, but I'll tell you right now, they're going to stop eating our strawberries. So we're going to take a bunch of strawberries. We're going to move them up by where our swimming pool is. And I might even make some little covers that they can't get through, because we're going to have strawberries next summer for sure. Yeah, we made a couple of compost bins. You know, one of our videos will show you. We made them with the pallets. We drove the T-posts in. Those are full, and they're starting to sink down, so we keep packing more on top. So I'm believing next year, all of our beds are already going to have dirt in them. So we're probably just going to pull the good dirt off the top, mix up some of the leaves underneath it, add some fresh leaves, put the fresh dirt on top, amend it a little bit, because we want to keep our beds full as we can to the top. But we're getting a good jump on the dirt this year for next season. And we put in about 30 more raised beds this year alone. At least 30 more raised beds. So by next year, we're going to be hitting it with about 50 raised beds. I don't know if we'll do more. Maybe we will. But I think right now we got enough area for growing what we want to grow. And I'm still trying to figure out where these pear trees are going to go. We have 3 pear trees. 2 of them are the same kind of pear. I'll get them in the ground. This was a good day. It's going to be a long video, but I think it's going to be worth watching. What a blessing. See our Kellogg's breakfast, our pink boar, some Roma, some peppers. I don't even know what they are. They just grew. Our lilac peppers. Look how beautiful they are. Purple lilac. This right here is our purple Cherokee. Kellogg's breakfast, yellow bell peppers, pink boar, a jalapeno. I'll let some of them go red for extra spice. Regular, some small beef steaks down there, some more Kellogg breakfast. Our Everglades. Everglades tomatoes got to be kept separate so they don't break. And here's some seeds from the Roma plants last week. Next year, I'm going to try to grow a couple of fields full of these tomatoes at my buddy's farm. He said we could try it out, so we need plenty of seeds, and I got them.